Imagine standing in a sea of light sticks in Japan, thousands of voices chanting one name, and knowing that in just a few hours, that name will never be the same again. This wasn't just another concert. This was the end of 9. Last night, at their final concert as a complete lineup, ZEROBASEONE stood on stage not just as idols, but as brothers about to be separated by contracts, companies, and decisions that didn't feel like their own. Let's rewind for a second. They were born from survival, from tears, from competition, from dreams. Formed through Boys Planet, they weren't meant to be permanent. Everyone knew the clock was ticking, a temporary project group, a deadline already written in invisible ink. January 2026 was supposed to be the end. Then came the extension. 2 more months, a small miracle. Fans hoped. Maybe negotiations would change everything. Maybe companies would compromise. Maybe 9 would stay 9. But K-pop doesn't run on maybe, it runs on contracts. Instead of a full disbandment, the announcement came like a quiet earthquake. ZEROBASEONE would reorganize, 5 members staying under WAKEONE, and 4 leaving. Zhang Hao, Gyuvin, Ricky, Han Yujin. Not because they wanted to, not because they fought, not because the bond was broken, but because sometimes idols don't get a choice. On February 19, the 9 stood together one last time in Japan, and you could feel it in the air before anyone said a word. The smiles were softer, the hugs lasted longer, the jokes didn't quite land the same. And then Jiwoong broke. He tried to hold it in, you could see it, the deep breaths, the blink-back tears, the trembling smile. But grief doesn't ask for permission. He sobbed. Not the polite idol cry, not the aesthetic single tear. He sobbed like someone losing family. And fans watching in the arena and online felt something crack inside them too. Because this wasn't about charts, it wasn't about awards, it wasn't even about the group name. It was about 9 boys who genuinely loved each other. One fan said something that hit harder than anything. It's not the separation that hurts the most, it's knowing it could have been different. That's the part that lingers, knowing that if they had full control, if they could override companies, negotiations, profit splits, future plans, they would choose each other. They would choose 9. Zhang Hao stood on that stage knowing it was his last performance in Japan as a ZEROBASEONE member. And when he said it out loud, "Today is my last concert in Japan as ZEROBASEONE," it didn't feel like an announcement. It felt like goodbye wrapped in professionalism. The remaining members were crying too, and that's what made it heavier, because the pain wasn't just coming from the ones leaving, it was coming from the ones staying. Imagine staying behind while your family walks out the door. That kind of silence is loud. For months, fans debated possibilities. Could contracts be bought out? Could companies collaborate? Could they extend longer? But the industry is a business first. Emotions don't sign paperwork. Revenue does. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Project groups from survival shows are designed with expiration dates. They create urgency, they create attachment, they create explosive fandom growth in a short window. And then they move on. That doesn't make it less painful, it just makes it predictable. But what made this different was how obvious their bond was. This wasn't coworkers finishing a project. This was late-night practice rooms, shared dorms, shared meals, shared panic before debut stages, shared dreams of what if we could stay like this forever. And maybe they believed it a little too. Fans online reacted instantly. Clips of Jiwoong crying spread everywhere. People saying they couldn't handle it, saying it felt unfair, asking why this had to happen. Some even questioned the companies involved, some worried about the future of the departing members. Others feared the new 5-member lineup would carry guilt for continuing. Because that's another layer no one talks about. Survivor's guilt, Idol Edition. The ones who stay often carry just as much emotional weight as the ones who leave. But here's the bigger picture. This isn't the end of their careers. It's the end of a configuration. Zhang Hao isn't disappearing, Ricky isn't fading, Gyuvin and Yujin aren't vanishing, they're transitioning. And if there's one thing K-pop history has shown us, it's that sometimes separation builds individual empires. Still, none of that logic erases what fans felt watching Jiwoong cry. That was real. That was human. That was a fifth-gen K-pop moment that broke the polished image and showed us the cost behind the performance. Because behind the synchronized choreography and million-seller albums, there are young men who formed genuine bonds in a high-pressure, high-speed environment. They didn't just debut together, they grew up together, and now they have to grow separately. That's brutal, but it's also part of this industry cycle. And maybe one day, when the contracts expire elsewhere, when timing aligns, when negotiations soften, maybe 9 will stand on stage again. K-pop has surprised us before. Until then, ZEROBASEONE continues as 5, a new chapter under WAKEONE, a different sound, a different dynamic, a different energy. But history will remember the 9. Fans will remember the Japan concert, the trembling voices, the way Jiwoong couldn't hold himself back, the way Hao said goodbye, the way the members clung to each other a few seconds longer than usual. And maybe that's what makes this story powerful, not the ending, but the fact that it mattered. Because in an industry built on concepts, this was authentic, and authenticity is what lingers long after the lights go out. For the members leaving, this isn't failure. For the members staying, this isn't betrayal. For fans, this is transition. Painful, messy, corporate, emotional, real. And if you watched that concert and felt your chest tighten, you weren't being dramatic. You were witnessing the closing of an era. 9 boys who once stood on a survival stage fighting to debut together, now standing on another stage fighting not to cry as they say goodbye. This isn't just K-pop news. This is the human side of ambition. And whether you support the 5, the 4, or all 9 forever, one thing is undeniable. They didn't choose to stop being brothers. The industry chose to rearrange them. And sometimes that's the hardest part to accept. Tell me in the comments, were you watching that concert? And how did it make you feel? Because if there's one thing this fandom knows how to do, it's love loudly. And that's where this chapter closes, but not the story. 9 names, 1 era, a bond that contracts couldn't erase. Whether you're staying for the new 5, supporting the 4 as they step into their next moves, or holding space for all 9 in your heart, your support is what keeps their journey alive. This is K-pop. It's beautiful, it's brutal, it's business, and it's real. If this moment hit you hard, you're not alone. Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about it like the fandom we are, honest, passionate, and a little emotional. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more deep dives, documentaries, and real conversations right here on Dayback Daily. Until next time, stay loud, stay loyal, and keep shining.